Hi, hello. Today we're going to be doing another trans Reddit video reading. Last time it did surprisingly good, so we're trying it again. If you couldn't tell, I'm trans. Let's get started. Am I the asshole for not giving my poor trans friend my binder when I'm just a cross-dresser? Oh, this is so long. I, 23 female, am a cisgender woman, but I'm heavily involved in the cosplay scene and do a lot of cosplay cross-dressing. My friend, 21 male, who we'll call X, recently came out as female to male trans. I haven't seen him in almost 2 years due to COVID, but he told me and a couple other friends during an online game. We were all supportive, most of our group is LGBTQA+, and didn't think it was a big deal. Told him we loved him, asked a couple questions, like if he was going to use a different name, etc., then went back to playing. After that game, we stayed on and chatted for a little while, and X flat out asked if anyone had a spare binder for him, since he still lives with his folks and can't really afford a nice one. A couple of people offered their hand-me-downs or offered to help him get a cheaper one. I didn't say anything because, while I do have binders, I have saved for them. They were a huge splurge each time I bought one, and while I'm not a great cosplayer, I love it and wouldn't be able to do my main hobby properly without them. Not to mention, X has used them before for cons and had to end up taking the two I'd be willing to maybe part with off, so it didn't seem like any point in me offering them. Later, X called me asking why I didn't offer him any of mine. I told him that the two I might consider giving him I know are uncomfortable for him, and he struggles to wear them for even a couple hours, so I didn't want to make him uncomfortable and put him in a position where he had to say no. He asked about my most recent one, that is by far my most expensive one. I just kind of chuckled and said, dude, that's more than my phone bill and I just got it last year. I've only gotten to wear it a handful of times. And his response was to go, so, you just make cringy cosplay TikToks anyways, so what do you need it for? You're not trans and it's appropriation to have a binder. I'll wait to say anything until the end, but just note that I am a little bit in shock. I just hung up because it was hurtful and upset me. X texted me apologizing for insulting my crossplays, but stuck by him calling it appropriation because binders aren't for people like me. I'm just really hurt and upset, and maybe he's right. They aren't to help me. I use them for fun and they just make me happy. But I also feel like it's enough of a reason to keep them. Not to mention how hard it is for me to save up to get the good ones I have now. IDK, am I the asshole? There's 4 edits. I'm gonna comment now and then read the edits. Saying it's appropriation to wear a binder is crazy. It's not appropriation because gender is a spectrum, and I read somewhere that gender is kind of like a presentation. And some people who aren't trans, female to male, wear binders, enjoy having binders, have top surgery. It's just how you express yourself. And, like, I know being trans isn't how you express yourself, but what you do to your body is self-expression. And how that relates to, and it, like, relates to gender, but it doesn't always align with gender. And the idea of this X person making it like this OP has to give their binders because this guy is trans, like, I went into the story with an open mind. I thought maybe there's like a reason, like it sounded crazy, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go in with an open mind, and it was crazier than I expected. Also, why should OP give their binder? Because, like, X called their cosplays cringy. Like, you don't do that when you're asking someone for a favor, which is what X is doing. And he could have said, hey, can I borrow one of your binders until I get one on my own? Or even the friends said that they'd save up to get him one. Like, I don't get why they have to have OP's binder. Even so, like, there is a different version of this where X could have been like, hey, I can't afford a binder right now, but I'd like to look into one. Can I borrow one of your binders until I get a binder of my own? OP could say no, but I feel like they would have been more likely to say yes in that scenario. Edit, I didn't realize X had read it, and he saw this and texted me to call me a racial slur, so I no longer feel any kind of guilt whatsoever. I don't have time to deal with that kind of hate, so I blocked him and sent a screenshot to our group chat before leaving because he told everyone I was bullying him with this post. No, not him calling out OP for appropriating wearing binders, but then also using a slur. What the hell? This guy is insane. We don't claim him. I, as a trans person, I'm speaking for some trans people, we don't claim him, okay? Edit 2. I obviously don't speak for all Native, Indigenous, First Nations peoples, but owning a dream catcher does not necessarily make you racist, in my opinion, but please get it from somebody who is part of the... There's lots of great shops on Etsy, and sometimes the reservation has art/craft shows, so you can check out the tribal website. It'll be properly blessed, made of the correct materials, etc., all without contributing to the theft of their culture. Just an FYI for the people messaging me because I saw X was culturally appropriating for wearing them in his hair. That feels completely out of left field, and now I feel like I'm missing something in this story. Edit 3, he is a man and uses he, him pronouns. If you're going to call him she, her, then your comment doesn't have any bearing to me because you can't respect a very simple request. I never once used she during this entire post. Just because you think he's the asshole doesn't give you the right to be transphobic. Just like it didn't give him the right to be racist. Edit 4. This is my last edit and I'm not coming back to this post. Many of you are really sweet, but the amount of racism, transphobia I've had to deal with because this post isn't worth it. Thanks for asking about my TikToks, but because of the hate, especially in my messages, I don't want it attached to this in any way. Y'all take care. I said a lot of my feelings already, but this guy is saying it's appropriation to wear binders, and then also calling them a slur and also calling their cosplay cringy. Like, I think it's, I don't want to say it's transphobic, but it's hateful to assume that binders only are for trans men. There are plenty of non-binary people who wear binders, who feel more comfortable in a binder or feel comfortable once they got top surgery. Now, gender is something so personal to people, and I don't know, I'm gonna start rambling, but basically saying wearing a binder is appropriation is just stupid. Am I the asshole for asking my am I the asshole for asking my trans coworker for menstrual products? I didn't say about the title. I said because the post looks like that. This is gonna be fun to read because I have mental issues and have really bad trouble reading very long paragraphs. So let's get started. I, female 16, started working at a fast food place around 2 months ago and quickly became friends with most of my coworkers. One of my favorite managers is trans, female to male, but is very far along in the process. He has started testosterone and has good facial hair as well as a very deep voice, so it's almost impossible to tell that he is trans other than his chest area, which he is saving up to get removed, but that's beside the point. I have been known to have awful periods to the point that I have to lay in a ball on the floor if I don't have any medicine I could take, and I very unluckily started my period at work yesterday. I just got off my period 2 weeks ago. Because of this, I didn't have anything on me, tampons or medicine, since I genuinely was not expecting another one to come so quickly, but when it did, it hit hard. I was having awful cramps and my vision started going blurry, and I could tell that this was going to be awful if I didn't have any medicine, so I started asking all of my female coworkers if they had any Midol or tampons that I could borrow, and unfortunately everyone said no, but I was desperate. I went up to my manager and asked if he had any Midol for the men who don't know. Midol is the most common medicine women use for periods. I assumed since he and his fiancée, female, share a car, maybe there would be something in his car that he could get for me. He started to get mad and raised his voice at me, asking why I would assume he would have those products and making it seem like I was invalidating him being trans, which I absolutely was not. A lot of my coworkers defended him, and I ended up leaving early. Now people from work have been messaging me calling me a transphobic asshole, and I genuinely don't know what to do. Am I the asshole? I don't think they're the asshole. Like, I think the assumption that they are asking because he is trans is them assuming that, I think, is kind of transphobic, or just, is it transphobic? The problem was that they assumed that she was asking because he was trans, because as they said, as OP said, this trans man has a wife and he has a car. He could totally have had something left over in his car. It would have been better if she phrased it like, hey, did your girlfriend leave any kind of Midol or tampons in your car? I'm really in need of them right now. I don't think they're the asshole because also they're in pain. They said that their vision was getting blurry and stuff, and obviously I feel like we shouldn't expect them to be able to word things perfectly. Just like a lot of Reddit stories. All it would take to fix this is communication, rather than jumping to conclusions. Edit. I went into work today and was greeted with a write-up for making my manager feel uncomfortable. I was also told by a few coworkers that it would probably be best if I looked for a new place to work as soon as possible, since my manager is trying to get me fired. He isn't in today, so I will not be able to try and explain my side, and I don't care much to do so now. I told them I would not be coming back after today, and I will be putting in applications to other places as soon as I get home. Also, I was told today by my manager's fiance that she did in fact have pads in her car and Tylenol, which I know now would have just worked the same. She apologized for his behavior because she doesn't think it was as big of a deal as he made it out to be, but there isn't much that can be done now. Yeah, the fiance had stuff in the... He had stuff in the car. Fucking Christ. Like, I think... Can I be unpopular for a second? I think this man getting so upset and making it about him is the problem. Because it was not about him. It was about this girl who needed menstrual product. I feel like it should be more of a common practice to have menstrual products around, whether it be this work having them in the bathroom or something like that. I just think it's fucked up that now she has to like change jobs because this man made everything about himself. And not to mention there's like a power dynamic between the boss and the worker, or the manager and the worker. So yeah, now he's gonna try and get her fired because what? He overreacted and made everything about himself? Yeah, first comment, workplaces should have these supplies. A manager with teen girls on staff should have these supplies. Male, female, trans, non-binary, doesn't matter. Half the population deals with periods. Workplaces should have period products. Exactly. And I'm very curious how OP talked to the fiance. Do they like know each other? And if they know each other, why can't the fiance tell him like, hey, this isn't what she meant? Shut the fuck up. He's victimizing himself when he's not actually a victim. And I feel like he makes trans men look bad. I wouldn't get mad at someone for being like, hey, you're trans, you used to be a girl. Like, either maybe you understand that women need these products, or you have some of these products around. I'm gonna start rambling, but it's just so... I'm mad about this, because, like, they didn't do anything wrong, and they now have to look for a new job. Ugh. Am I the asshole for no longer wanting my trans cousin in my wedding party? Throw away because my sister knows my Reddit. I'm getting married next year, and I'm excited about it. My fiance has all his groomsmen picked out, and I'm in the process of asking my bridesmaid. I'd also have liked to include my twin cousins E and A in the bridal party, as we were always so close growing up. A is a guy and lives a few hours away. E is female to male, which I'm sad to say plays a major role in this Am I the Asshole? I drove out 2 weeks ago to visit A and ask if he'd be willing to be part of the bridal party. I put together a box of goodies and a card that says, will you be part of my bride tribe? Deliberately trying not to use the word bridesmaid. He was excited and we talked a little bit about expectations/plans for how his and E's ties/pocket squares would match the bridesmaids' dresses. I specifically asked him not to mention anything to E because I wanted it to be a surprise. Fast forward to this weekend and I meet E for lunch. I give him the same little box of goodies with the same card. E's reaction didn't go as I expected. He got really angry, accusing me of wanting to fit him back into a feminine bridesmaid mold despite his transition. I tried to explain that I'd picture him and his brother wearing color-coordinated suits, but I didn't get the chance to because he kept talking over me. I feel like he went off the deep end. He called me bigoted, asked why I wanted him to support a wedding that would only end in divorce, called me basic and adhering to stupid sexist transitions. Adhering to stupid sexist traditions. He left without giving me a chance to really explain. I guess today E finally calmed down and talked to his brother, who must have explained because he sent me a text message apologizing and saying he'd be in the bridal party. I drafted a text saying basically that while he's still invited to the wedding, given his feelings towards me, it's best that he isn't part of the bridal party. My fiance says I should do whatever makes me comfortable, but my mom seems to think I'm being too harsh on E and should have seen this misunderstanding coming. She says I should be more understanding considering the abuse/discrimination he must face. She says I should give E a second chance, and if I didn't, it would cause all kinds of family drama. Would I be the asshole if I refused to let him be part of the wedding party? He literally said the marriage was gonna end in divorce. Like, if he had just been like, I find it disrespectful that you're asking me to be in the bride's party because I am a guy. Like, if he had said it respectfully, then I could see why it's like, okay, give him another chance. But he blew up at you. Like, he blew up at OP. Like, people are so insane. And this is another, I get that it's a touchy subject, that like gender is a touchy subject, but this is another thing where it's like the world is not about you. And just a second of communication would have changed everything. If this guy, if this guy didn't instantly assume the worst and then snap about it, this wouldn't have happened. I guess this has to do with like the world being very transphobic. I don't know, this may be an unpopular opinion. I think if you are surrounded by people with the best intentions, you should give them a little bit of a break if they do something that like may be transphobic. Like that you feel may be transphobic. Whether or not it is or not. Like if someone has like the best intentions, like one of my family members doesn't say LGBT right, they say LBGT. And like the thing is, they have the best intentions and it means so much that they do have the good intentions. I'm not gonna correct them over something like that. Like, you can tell if someone has good intentions. And I feel like people who have these good intentions need to be given the benefit of the doubt. Edit, wow, I cannot believe how much this blew up, so I'm going to clarify a few things in hopes that it addresses your questions. E sent me a text apologizing. His apology was for snapping at me. He admitted that he was wrong and it was totally out of line, and now that he talked to A, he knows what I meant and would be in the wedding party if I'd have him. Nothing specific was mentioned, and I haven't sent any response yet. A also did call me this evening, but I was out to dinner and missed his call. I called him back, but right now we seem to be playing phone tag. Also, E is a man. He uses the pronouns he, his, him. Just because he may have been an asshole / acted out in anger does not give anyone the license to misgender him. If you want me to take you seriously, use the correct pronouns for E. That brings up another thing that I guess I'll talk about. This concept where if someone's an asshole, people find it okay to misgender them. In doing that, you are making it like, okay, me respecting you, me giving you the like basic human decency goes away if you do something wrong. In not using someone's correct pronouns because they do something bad, it infers that people don't need to respect pronouns and like trans people's identities if they do something wrong. That's a general level of respect. And the thing is, you could argue like, oh, people who do some wrong things don't deserve that respect. But the people who are trans, who are good people, like they deserve the respect of knowing, hey, your pronouns aren't going to be taken away if you do something wrong. It's not just about the person who's an asshole, it's about trans people as a whole. The guy E said, oh, you're doing stupid sexist traditions, when what OP was doing is literally the opposite of the sexist tradition, because she's putting two men in the bridal party, which is not something you like part of the normal tradition. One of the comments brings this up, and I think I did already, but E didn't say like, oh, how do you envision this, or like, oh, how does this work? He instantly got mad, just like the freaking boss or manager in the story before. Like, they jumped to conclusions before even asking like to clarify. Yeah, and if I was OP, I would not have them in the bridal party. Like, I get that it's a mistake, and even as a trans person, I'm like, you could have said it respectfully. You could have declined or said like, hey, I don't like the idea of this, respectfully, instead of going, your marriage is doomed to fail and you believe in stupid sexist tradition. Okay, this is gonna be the last story. Am I the asshole for forbidding my trans sister-in-law from observing me giving birth? Throwaway, obviously. This is a pretty unique situation, so I think my main account will get identified pretty fast otherwise. I'm 32, female, in Florida. So basically, I thought this was a pretty cut and dry situation, but apparently not, as I'm getting a lot of judgment, some bordering on abuse, from different people, and my phone is blowing up, so I want to know if I was out of line. I'm 6 months pregnant. and I've been very open about what kind of way I want to give birth. I've discussed this with my group of girlfriends extensively, along with my family. I ideally want to have a natural, unassisted birth at home, which is near a hospital if things start to shape up as problematic. Now, for this process, I want support, and of course my husband is going to be there, but I also want my 2 sisters to be with me. This is where things get controversial. In many conversations I've had with friends and family, I mentioned that I want my sisters there with me. I do not want my brother there. That would be weird. But in these conversations, my trans sister-in-law was present, and she said she got the idea that she would be included in this childbirth situation. Just for reference, she transitioned around 3 years ago. I was unaware of this until last week when she told me if there was anything in particular she should bring for the birth. I calmly mentioned that I am very selective over who I want in this very intimate situation, and told her then I hope she isn't offended if she isn't there for the birthing. This is when things blew up. She lost her temper, and I got a torrent of emotional outbursts. She said that she would never be able to give birth herself, and excluding her is taking away her womanhood and depriving her of her only chance of experiencing this expression of femininity. When she found out my 2 sisters were going to be there, she told me that I was transphobic and she has as much of a right to be there as they do. After this, I received many emails, Facebook messages, and text messages from several different people calling me a transphobe and many other hurtful things. My trans sister-in-law is very active in the trans activism community, which I fully support, and apparently she told them what had transpired. This has obviously rallied them up to harass me, and now I'm starting to wonder if I messed up. I kind of wish I never mentioned anything about the birthing process to her. Maybe I should have just kept all these plans to myself so she wouldn't feel excluded. I'm aware trans people have a pretty shitty deal in life, and perhaps this added to their feelings of exclusion, but the other part of me says, it's my birthday, I'm going to be very vulnerable and exposed, and I, perhaps selfishly, owe it to myself to make it as comfortable and safe for me as possible. So am I the asshole? Let's start with leaving the trans part of it aside. This is the sister-in-law. She wants to have her 2 sisters and her husband. This is the sister-in-law, not like another sister. I think it's easy enough to split, like, hey, these are my sisters, my biological sisters, and you are a sister-in-law. You are not, it's not the same. You're a sister-in-law, but like, you're an in-law. You're not like my family, you're like an in-law. I mean, you are the family, but like, not in the same way as like a sibling is. And I think it's crazy of her to say excluding her is taking away from her womanhood and depriving her of her only chance of experiencing this expression of femininity. It's not OP's job to let this trans person see this expression of femininity. Like, all that really matters in this specific situation is the comfort of OP giving birth, because she's doing it naturally, which is insane. If I still had parts to give birth, I would never natural is crazy. Like, I give kudos to anyone who has birth naturally. Could not be me. Could never be me. I mean, now it really could never be me, but even before, no. That's really badass that she's gonna do this naturally. I'm off topic. Just imposing on another person is where the issue is. This OP doesn't have to have anyone in the birthing that she does not want to. She literally said from the beginning she wanted to have her husband and her 2 sisters there. It's not invalidating her gender in any way. It's saying, hey, you're my in-law. You're not like my sister, like my biological sister. So I only want those people, like the people closest to me, to be there. And we don't know how close this sister-in-law is to OP. I think that would add like another layer to it, especially if this sister-in-law isn't even close to OP. And I guess there would be a tiny different one though. The way that this sister-in-law went about it makes them the asshole. I think if she has like a group of friends and it's only the 2 sisters and the sister-in-law, like if they're a group of 4 and they hang out all the time, maybe it'd be a little bit more iffy. But I think just the way this trans woman spoke of the birth and like made it about her is kind of like the issue. All right, that was the video. I will see you guys next time. I hope you like this video, and we'll see how it does analytically. Okay, bye.